Well, welcome to a show where I really wish that we would be talking about the World Series and complaining about, oh man, we have to play Shohei Ohtani. We have to play this loaded Dodgers team, the team that took Blake Snell away from us, especially from that show where I was talking about maybe we can get Blake Snell, and you're like, nope, it's too late, already happened. So I would have loved to complain about that, but unfortunately, we have to complain about the fact that the Mariners had lost. They blew their last two games, especially Game 7 when they had a 3-1 lead, and they just completely blew it. And now we're here to basically just do our final ventings about it, and then officially move on to the 2026 Mariners offseason. But before we do that, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get right to it. And J Trident, just want to ask you, how are you holding up in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, it's I thought the sting would go away a little bit. I'll be honest, it's still there. Going to work and everything's helping, getting the mind off of it. But it still hurts. To be honest with you, there's times where I'm over it, then there's other times where I just think about how close we were in that game 7, and if a couple things go differently, that we could easily, like you said, it would be very tough against the Dodgers. Mariners would be underdogs, rightfully, but you never know. You never know. Baseball's the most random sport there is at times. So I'd much rather be talking about a World Series preview right now. So it definitely hurts. It definitely hurts. But I mean, I guess it is what the hurt is what comes with the territory of competing. I certainly would rather end the season like this than missing the playoffs, as sick as that sounds. Like, I'm trying to take that mentality of, this is what I want, right? I mean, I don't want to lose game 7s, but I want this feeling of being there and in the hunt.
I'm about the same as you, like just having a hard time just letting it go. And deep down, I mean, as much as it's stressful it was, and I probably gained like 5 pounds because I was just eating unnecessarily after games. But at the same
Same.
time, we enjoyed the ride. It was something that we were crying for the last 24 years. And the fact that they even got within a game of the World Series, given how volatile this team was, and they just drove us nuts throughout the season. And sure, you can say that Houston crapped the bed. Texas was just pretty much gone. The A's aren't there yet. The Angels are the Angels. You know what? Screw that. I'll take a playoff run like this when there was actually an opportunity to get to the World Series. Like, it felt even closer than it did in 95, 2000, and even 2000. And of course,
Yeah.
2001, because they lost in 5 games and crapped out. But I'm still in denial. Like, I'm still wearing the shirt, and this is actually my final hour of wearing the shirt, and it will finally go in the laundry. So yes, it possibly stinks. Like, the moment I bought it, I kept it on I didn't like sleep. Of course I wore something different, but when I'm out there in the public, I was wearing this every single day. I wore it at work, wore it when I was with my friends. Like, but yeah, I'm gonna miss wearing this shirt. I mean, sure, I'll probably wear it maybe like next week if I'm doing a Mariners show, but it's gotta go in the washer eventually. And it was pretty much just due. But we're gonna talk about Game 7, where Mariners had a 3-1 lead. They were 9 outs away from getting
8.
to the World 8 outs away from getting to the World Series. And then a lot of things happened. George Springer with that 3-run home run. A lot of criticisms on Dan Wilson. I mean, I think I'm just gonna go right off the bat and say, well, it was nice that Julio, Cal stepped up, and Josh Naylor all stepped up to get their 3 runs, but so many runners left on base, and just so much of that, which had the Mariners just scored at least even half the runs that they should have gotten in full, I mean, this game would have been over real quickly and would have definitely withstand the George Springer home run. But I think the first thing that really gets me is, as much as George Kirby at least kind of held it together, and then when he was pulling, when Dan Wilson was pulling him after in the 4th inning, I know if I looked at it at my smartphone, at my phone, and saw that George Kirby only pitched like this much and no runs were given up, I would have been like, Dan Wilson, like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you being like Scott Service? But then, of course, when you're watching the game, you're kind of like, okay, because Toronto was kind of poking at him quite a bit, and George Kirby, I think, only had like one clean inning, so I can understand why he did it, and maybe still at most, maybe should have given one more inning, but at the same time, how much was it? Was it going to be a matter of time until they just figure out George Kirby, and then disaster could have struck either way. So it sounds, I mean, don't get me wrong. They were also playing against a top five offense. So they are bound to make those kind of comebacks anyway. So that was my thoughts on the poll. I was like 50-50 about the move to bring in Brian Wu. Any of your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think you made a great point at the end there. The Blue Jays have really good offense, and there might have been nothing you could have done in terms of leaving Kirby in there. And I'm sure we'll talk about the seventh inning for sure as well. But I kind of was on the side of give them one more. I think if you can get the starters through five, you set yourself up very well with the bullpen. And then you go Woo for the sixth, seventh, Munoz eighth, nine. That would have kind of, I think, been the ideal path there to the victory. But I'm with you too. Like Kirby was not great in game three. He was good in game seven, but wasn't not like he was just dominating either. Like you said, there were some base runners. It wasn't the cleanest 4 innings. It was fine, right? I'd say it was fine. It wasn't dominant, but it wasn't bad by any means. So I can certainly get taking him out there. Brian Woo's fresh. He's been your best pitcher all season. All of it's tough though, right? Because even Woo, that was only his second time he pitched in the last month and a half. That makes it difficult. How sharp is he going to be? He's working on the side. And he was a little like hot and cold, right? Like Woo too. He had some good stuff. That strikeout to Springer was nasty, but there was also some, a little bit of wildness that we normally don't see from him. So yeah, I think I was fine with, if we're just talking about the Kirby's decision, I was fine with it. I probably would have given him one more, but those are always tough for me too, because we're not in the dugout. We don't know what Kirby's telling Dan, what the philosophy is there. So those ones I usually kind of let go, but I might have given him one more inning. I don't remember who was due up in the fifth. That would play a role for me too in that situation. But I might have given him one more.
It's kind of ironic because I think if it was 2 years ago, I would have been like, Dan Wilson, what the heck are you doing? But then after watching all these 79 games, it's kind of like, okay, I can kind of get it, because when I started this thing as a noob in 22, I was like a diehard, but baseball wise, my knowledge was pretty casual. But then once I got more into the game, especially doing it through YouTube, then that's where I got more of the why they do this, why is this being done, like it's yeah, it's a lot of things I've learned in the last 2 years where at least I was put on a 50-50. Like it's easy to say like, yeah, maybe Dan Wilson should have got that one more inning, and we're all saying it, but also at the same time, he was getting poked on quite a bit. Now, if Kirby
And,
was clean at all 4 innings, then oh yeah, put him to 7 innings.
And another thing too, like the Mariners really didn't have, and Brian Wu could probably fall in this category a little bit. They really didn't have an ace all season. Like Kirby wasn't bad or anything this year, but I don't think any of us ever like fully felt like, oh, Kirby's going seven shutout. Obviously, if that was like Scooble on the mound for us, then yeah, you're leaving him in because he's your best guy. But the starters have been, hit and miss this season. At home, fine. On the road, a little shaky. So that factors into your point as well, where it's like, if it's someone like, Castillo in 22 in Toronto, I think went seven, but I mean, he was just locked and dialed in that game. There was nobody that was going to be better. Whereas I think you can make a case this year that there were going to be pitchers potentially better than George Kirby in that spot. And, we can get into that, the offseason stuff, but like, I think that's something the Mariners kind of missed this year, was just a true ace on the mound. Wu was close. Maybe you could consider him one. That's totally, I might as well, consider him one, but kind of missing that guy that just you hand the ball to, you're getting sold out. I mean, I guess that is Brian Wu, but you know what I mean?
Well, there was that, and yeah, Brian Will is as decent as he was actually pitching too, even though Toronto was poking him around a little bit. But then he was starting to have some problems where I think Will gave up a walk, and then I think there was that single where Crawford just happened to be out of place, and that's what we see from Crawford all the time. It's like when he looks good, but that's only because he was in the right position. But there are times where he was just way off position and he was letting little dribblers get past him. I think I saw that twice, and that was also really frustrating. If you have any thoughts on that, also what stuck out was just watching Crawford just let a slow little dribbler just go zipping right past him in like slow
Yeah,
motion.
I don't know if JP could have gotten to that one, the one after the Barger walk. I don't know. Like that would be. I know JP's range is not great, so you might be 100% correct on it. I'll put that one more on Brian Wu as an 0-2 pitch to Kiner Falefa. He gets that a little bit more in. If you go watch that pitch, it's not middle, but it's like middle in. If that's in 0-2, I think it's right to JP. I think it's rolled over and it's a double play. I don't disagree with you on JP's range. I just don't know. Like if you go watch, I don't know if he could have, even if he gets to it, I don't know if he gets an out on it. It would probably be one of those ones where you dive, keep it in the infield, and it's everybody's still where they're at. So I'll put that one on Wu. Again, there's people that know baseball defense better than me, so I could be so wrong on that. Maybe it is a ball. Maybe he needs to be playing more shaded that way too. I that stuff it's not in my expertise wheelhouse. But I'll put that more on Wu. I just 0-2 pitch. That's a little bit more inside. He's gonna swing, and I think he rolls over that to shortstop pretty easily. But no disagreement on JP's defense. On the whole, though, it's not very good.
I mean, the only reason why people think he's a defensive specialist is because of his one backhanded play back in 2019. Like that was the highlight of the 2019 Mariners was that insane backhanded play that he had. But
He's got a
other than
gold
that, he's
glove.
been
That
making.
also, you know,
Did he
makes
do it on
people think
Didn't that
that.
happen on pandemic year?
I don't remember when he got it, or it was. I don't remember when he got the
Oh,
gold
that's
glove. But you
fine.
know how that is. Like Jeter got his kind of fake gold gloves, where it's like, okay, like he made a couple diving plays, but we know Jeter was not a great defensive shortstop. Now, I mean, if JP could hit like Derek Jeter, I wouldn't have a problem with anything. But
2020.
yeah, the 60 game.
It
What
was
if
pandemic year.
There you go. So it's small
It was a
sample. I mean,
weird
JP
season.
was a good defender. Yeah, I didn't even watch much baseball that year. I mean, JP was a good defender. He makes some plays that are still like good plays. That double play he did turn was a nice play. It's not that he doesn't have like his range is just not great. Like there's balls he doesn't get to that, I think Brendan Ryan, is turning double plays on. If we remember old Brendan Ryan, one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. Kind of funny. That's a
Mm-hmm.
guy that would probably be a good guy to have on this team, ironically.
Pretty much it would be. And I don't want to go much on a tangent, but that 2020 season
Yeah,
was so
sorry.
weird that the Mariners were rebuilding and they still almost made the playoffs. Like they sold at the deadline because that's where they got them Ty France and Andres Munoz eventually, but they were selling and they still nearly made the playoffs, which that was the weird part of that season.
La- Last thing I'll say on that season, we can get back to game 7. Hot take. I didn't want them to make the playoffs that year. I wasn't invested. 60, like, listen, you play 125, sure, I'll invest. 60 games, that's like if football played a 5-game season. I'm sorry. I'm just not getting invested into 5 games. That doesn't tell me anything about these teams. I did not want the Mariners to make the playoffs that year. Like, it wasn't actively rooting against them. But when they didn't get in, I was like, that's fine. When the Mariners go back to the playoffs, I want it to be 162, get at it and get in. And 8 teams made
Fair
it, so it's
enough
kind of a weird
point.
playoff, anyways.
It was weird, and maybe that's probably like a format of the future, but that is for a topic for maybe in 2027 if the
Yeah.
season locks out. But then the next moment that really got everyone was the moment to put in Eduardo Bizardo, and I should have paid attention to the fact that he pitched 2 innings. But if something could have been done differently, there were a few options. There was either maybe just give Brian Wu the hard talk, like Dan Wilson or Pete Woodward should have came out there and be like, "Hey, just relax, like you're good." Or you should have put in Matt Brash, who, granted, he basically pitched the equivalent of 2 innings, but it was just 1 inning, and it was a little bit unlucky inning. And I still think that maybe he would have been the better guy to go up against Springer. And the third option was, I personally just wanted to. I was wondering if they should have walked him because, like, when he was swinging on his last 2 at bats, he certainly looked a lot more effective on swinging than he did in Game 6. Game 6, he looked completely broken. But game 7, he was actually hitting. He actually had some pretty nice at bats. So I was at least thinking, man, should we just intentionally walk him and try to take a chance for a double play? No, it did not happen. So that's why the home run did happen. So, I mean, there was just so many things where you should have done this, you should have done that. But ultimately, my ultimate take on it, I would have walked Springer, take the risk with the bases loaded, because no matter what happens, it happens, whether bases are loaded or runner on second and third. But I would rather have the opportunity for a double play. And then I guess maybe put in Matt Brash, or some say even put in Andres Munoz in that situation.
Yeah, that's, I was on a podcast last night. We talked about this too. And, there's 1,000 different recipes that Dan could have cooked up. I try not to be too harsh on managers in those spots because it's very difficult. I think you could make a case for a lot of different things. I think you could have started the inning with Gabe Spire. You had Barger, IKF, and then Barger lefty, righty, and IKF, then another lefty and Jimenez. Spire's been struggling a little bit this playoffs, but bottom of the order might have been a good pocket for him. I think you could make a case for leaving Brian Wu in to face Springer. He struck him out the last at bat. Again, I'm not going to rip Dan for that because I don't know where Wu is at in terms of how he's feeling. Go to Brash, go to Bizzardo. I would have gone to Munoz against George Springer personally. I think it's the biggest spot. You're going to be facing you're going to be facing Springer, Lucas, Guerrero, Kirk, the heart of their order there. So I go to Munoz in the 7th. And Munoz, they said he could go 2 innings. So have him pitch the 7th. Now, again, that doesn't mean Springer doesn't hit the home run, to be clear, right? Like he could still hit one out against Munoz. But let's say Munoz gets out of it. Then he finishes the 7th, pitches the 8th. Maybe the offense scores a couple runs and you can go to Brash in the 9th. Maybe you see if Munoz can give you 8 outs. But I think in the biggest spot in the game, I think you go to your best guy, and it is Andres Munoz. Walking Springer's a tough one for me. I get where people are coming from with it, setting up the double play. My biggest issue with it, it's what Dan said after the game too. If you walk Springer, you face Lucas, who has grounded into some double plays, so it's not impossible. But then you do have Lucas, who's a good hitter. You have the go-ahead run on base, and you got Vlad up after that. So you put yourself in a tough spot, and you had a 2-run lead. So even if Springer hits a 300-foot out to Randy, it's 3-2. You get Lucas, and you're going to the 8th with the lead. So it's not something where it was a tie game or something where you say, screw it, right? If it's a tie game, I do walk Springer because then I don't really care if I face Vlad because anything's going to give them the lead. And if it's a base hit by Lucas or a walk and then a homer by Vlad, tip your cap and move on. But with a 2-run lead, I don't like putting a lot of guys on base. I think, and another thing too, sorry to keep ranting here, but I was texting
keep
a buddy.
going. Keep going.
I appreciate it. I was texting a buddy and I was like, listen, worst case is, 3-3. I don't want that to happen, but hey, tie game, go to the 8th, it's 0-0 and go get a run. The worst possible thing happened, right? It just happened to be the worst outcome. I'm with you on Bizzardo. He had thrown 2 innings the night before. I don't think that's the best spot with him having pitched 2 innings the night before. I think that's what, for me, makes that tough. If Bizzardo didn't pitch on Sunday, I'd probably have been fine with going to him there in that spot. He's gotten out of it all year. I get it's the playoffs and guys are going to have to dig deep and pitch multiple innings. So I'm not saying that to get Bizzardo off the hook for it. But I do think that having him pitch 2 innings the night before made it a tough spot there. I think you go Munoz, leave in Wu, or you go Spire to start the 7th, or you go Kirby for 5, and then Wu's got the whole 6th and the whole 7th. So that's kind of my take on it. But it's also just unfortunate that the worst possible outcome happened. You're sitting there going through all the scenarios. You go, well, as long as we don't give up a home run, there it's gone, and it just happens to be what happened, unfortunately. So a lot of different scenarios. I think all of them make some sense. It's pick your poison a little bit. Also tip your cap, Jay's.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really. I know a lot of Mariner fans hate the guy. They hate Springer because of what happened 10 years ago, which honestly, I never cared about the whole garbage thing from day one because I'm in that mentality of just worry about yourself kind of thing and let everything take care of itself. Like for example, the Nationals, they took care of themselves and won the World Series. And the Boston Red Sox 2018, and now sure, they probably sign stole just as much as the Astros did, but it's not like this
Yeah.
whole sign stealing thing was 100% guaranteed to win them a World Series. They just happened to win one against the Dodgers, and also the Dodgers were they also should have won the World Series. But anyways, I'm still going to give George Springer credit because he came from a thing where he got hit in the knee. I'm not going to say too much into it, but when you redeem yourself after getting hit in the knee and you weren't sure that you were going to play the next game, kind of hard to hate, especially on a objective standpoint. I mean, I hated that he did it to the Mariners, but I think for the Blue Jays and the theater of baseball, ugh, it was a significant moment in baseball history. I'm going to say that, but that's
Absolutely
just
was.
the way it is. And I would be, I have to, see, like, it's like good for you kind of thing, but it just happens to be against the Mariners. And funny enough, our last two playoff meltdowns were based on Astro players, Jordan Alvarez 2022 and George Springer 2025. But then, even then, there was still an opportunity to win. It was top of the ninth inning. Now, granted, it was a very difficult inning to get through, but man, things that really got me, like, I think the first batter was J.P. Crawford. I was like, okay, fine. He's not going to
Rivas,
probably do
Rivas.
much,
It
but
was yeah,
it was Rivas. I was like,
yeah.
okay, fine. Who else are you going to have? Put in a rusty Masterboni? Probably not. But then pinch hitting Canzone, a guy that hasn't even hit a buck, that one also kind of got me. I would have rather just take on a Victor Robles who, even if he did strike out, at least it would have taken like at least seven pitches to do so. But then what really got me, Julio Rodriguez was arguably on a very favorable count, and he's swinging at dirt and everything outside the strike zone. Like this, like Hoffman could have just thrown it outside of Rogers Center, and he still would have swung at it. And it was frustrating because Cal Raleigh was on deck, and I was thinking, let the guy who's been dominating in Rogers Center historically and statistically, hitting bombs left and right, let him take on the pressure because I hate to say it, but I don't think Julio's necessarily Mr. Pressure guy. I think that's more of a Cal Raleigh thing. And I'm not saying that if Julio walked or got a base hit or anything like that, I'm not saying that it would have guaranteed a 2-run home run for Cal Raleigh or at least tie the game, but at least give the man the opportunity when you're on a favorable count. But that's Julio. He's a volatile guy. He swings at the bad pitches, but then he watches the good ones.
Yeah, I won't rip Julio. I mean, I'm agreeing. I'll agree with you on that ninth thing. I'm not going to rip Julio too much because I mean, up until that point, he was going to be maybe one of the heroes of the game with his home run, leadoff double. So, I mean, at the end of the day, he has a productive game. I'm with you on the Dom pinch hit. I didn't mind it in real time. I was kind of like, okay, I get it. Dom's more likely to run into one here. But the goal that ninth inning has to be to get Cal Raleigh up. I don't care what you have to do. And like you said, it doesn't guarantee that they would have done anything, and it would have probably hurt even more if Cal was the last out. But you've got to find some way. I don't care how. If you got a Roger Dorn your way on base, right? Like Major League Two, you've got to get Cal the plate. Leo Rivas swings at ball four. Good pitch. It was close, but dude, you're Leo Rivas. Just take it. And if he punches you out, he punches you out. Like you live to play another day. Dom, I mean, a fitting ending to his awful postseason. Great season. Good to see Dom kind of break out a little bit, but dreadful in the postseason. Robles had some good at bats. And again, you got to get Cal up. I'm with you. I think I'll let Robles take that at bat. Hoffman was a little wild. Robles had worked some walks. See what happens. See if he gets on. Instead of trying to get someone to run into one, who's more likely to get Cal up for you? And then, yeah, Julio, I mean, again, that at bat, he didn't see one strike in that at bat. And again, they're not even close to winning that game without Julio, but not a single strike there. If Julio walks there, it's at least like I'd rather go down with Cal, knowing like, dude, if this guy gets into one, you got some hope. There's a little bit of hope there. So yeah, those at bats in the ninth were very disappointing. And like I said, Hoffman didn't throw one strike to Julio. And Julio had some really, I think what was most frustrating about that Julio at bat in the ninth, he'd been kind of really patient in this series. I think he laid off some, I mean, he had some Julio, like you said, volatile swings where it's like, oh, dude. But for the most part, he had some really good at bats. He spit on some tough pitches. He got on base, and just the worst time to have a Julio at bat that we've seen, in 23 and 24, where it's like, dude, what are you even trying to do, man, in that spot? And man, and again, I feel anybody watches, I'm not like, you're not even in that game without Julio. But man, that 3-2 that he swung at, like, dude, like, I get breaking balls are extremely hard. I've seen Matt Brashen do some ridiculous swings. But man, like, I went back and watched that pitch kind of in slow motion. When was that a strike? When was that? And Cal's on deck. Like, you got to be thinking in that spot, like, I just got to get on. And I know you don't want to get called out on strikes, '06 Carlos Beltran style against Adam Wainwright. But, like, man, that pitch never looked like a strike. It was in the dirt. Funny enough, it was actually foul tipped. I didn't realize Kirk actually caught it as a foul tip. I don't know if he's caught that. I didn't catch it until I watched it again. I didn't realize he actually does make contact with the 3-2 pitch. Funny
Oh,
enough.
man.
But I'm with you on that, man.
Well, and then we were kind of also shocked to see when, and this is going to be the last part of Game 7, because I know that, Game 7 really ate up half of our show already, but man, they were talking to Brian Wu, and then it turned out that Julio was the one that was screaming because, he just lost. We just lost. Mariners just lost Game 7. It's frustrating, and the way it happened, it was frustrating, and knowing that deep down, I think these players also know about the ownership. They're not going to tell you about it, of course, but I think somewhere in the back of their mind, they're thinking, man, is this team actually going to be together for next year? Because we've already seen it happen where they did gut the team, even in the Julio era. Like, we saw them trade Eugenio Suarez away. And now I wonder if that's what he was also thinking too, other than the fact that he was thinking, oh man, I shouldn't have swung at that, but also what's going into next year, which is why we are going to transition officially. We are going into 2026 baseball season, and I'm going to do it now. I'm going to get rid of the shirt. I'm wearing an undershirt. 2 shirts. Oh, sorry, Vader. But moving on. Plus, it has to go in the washer anyway. Well, here we are for 2026 offseason,
It's go
and I
time.
think and now we got to get into, this is the scary part, and I'll tell you why eventually. So, players that are in contract like Julio Rodriguez, Luis Castillo, Cal Raleigh. Now, unless Castillo's entertained for a trade, he's still going to be with us, at least contractually or contract-wise, until 2027, when he'll be a free agent in 28. For Cal Raleigh, he's going to go up $10 million. He started at $2.67 million. They put a backloaded contract, not front-loaded. But he's going to be at 12.67, so that's going to up the price kind of a bit. And then you got to look at the fact that Suarez is a free agent. Mitch Garver is probably going to be a free agent unless they mutually agree to pick up the option. But pretty sure the Mariners are not going to pick up that option. If it was a team option, he's gone. Then you're looking at Jorge Polanco. What are you going to do with him? Do you pick up that option, where I think it's actually also a mutual option? Like, does Jorge Polanco want to pick up that option, or does he want to opt out and go into free agency? But personally, I don't think he's going to get another. It's pretty unclear if he's going to get like some kind of a big contract, because he did kind of he played way above expectations. He went from a dead cheeseburger, like you say, to a 1990s Big Mac, it felt like. And then you got to look at Josh Naylor. Like, there's a lot of questions. Like, I'm sure people aren't going to lose sleep over Mitch Garver being gone, but then Josh Naylor, that's a lot of sleep to lose. Even Suarez, yes, he struggled, but and I know it was frustrating to watch Suarez in the playoffs, where he got only that one grand slam and a home run, but he was a great presence. He was a very positive presence. This is what really carried his performance.
All right, guys, goodbyes only. Don't forget it.
Stop it. Thank you.
And I know that people are going to say that can only do so much, but the question is, though, if you do get rid of Suarez, then you're banking on Ben Williamson having a breakout season, which he will have to have if Suarez is gone to make that meaningful, because we already saw it before where Josh Rojas was the one to replace Suarez for third base. That didn't exactly, it worked for like a month, and then when they started to put him more as a full-time rather than platooning, it was a complete disaster, which is why he was non-tendered, and now he's a free agent now. So there's that. Josh Naylor, what are you going to do with him? Because he is great with the T-Mobile Park hitting. He was a great part of this team. He was a hustler. He was perfect on stolen bases. The slowest guy in baseball, also stole one of the best base stealers in baseball. He's a very smart guy. And then what are you going to do with Polanco? I mean, there's a lot of questions going into those expiring contracts. Now, those are like the more notables, but everyone else, they're kind of like $2 million kind of free agents, and they seem to be more of a replaceable, like a Caleb Ferguson. Not worried about those, but those other three players or so, those are players where you do have a lot of questions on what the Mariners are going to do.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting offseason. I don't think a single Mariner fan would fight anybody for saying Josh Naylor's priority number one. I think that's someone you definitely have. I'll never say you have to bring somebody back, because maybe they've got something up their sleeves that'll work. But I mean, barring that, I think we are something all Mariners fans can agree on is bring back Josh Naylor. Sounds like he wants to be a part of it. But that doesn't mean everything. That could just be like, yeah, sure, I'd come back to Seattle. Like, we don't know exactly where they're at with that. I think the Mariners are definitely going to do everything they can to bring Josh Naylor back. When they go big on free agents, putting that in quotes a little bit. I know Castillo wasn't a free agent after 22, but they got the deal done with Castillo. Guys like that. So I think when they see that the person can perform with the Mariners, they're willing to do it. I think they want that type of mentality in the clubhouse. His skill set is exactly what this team needs. He's still got the pop, but he doesn't strike out as much as the other guys do. You never know. Like, I don't know what Naylor wants to do, but I'd have to imagine that's the team's top priority is trying to get Josh Naylor in here and bought in. And I think that'll help set a tone, hopefully, for the offseason. I think you want to try to get that done sooner rather than later, because I think that'll help set a tone for the offseason. Like, listen, Naylor's coming back. The rest, I mean, if Gino, like a 1-year deal or something, I could stomach it and go fine. Like, I can live with it. And I'm with you. Like, even though the numbers weren't great, I still think he helped this ball club more than hurt it after the trade deadline. But Gino is a guy that, like, his bat speed looked kind of slow. I could see him just being cooked a little bit too. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he bounces back, as well, but I won't lose sleep on Gino. Again, 1-year deal or something, small amount, they do it, like, cool. I won't fight it. Garver, fine backup catcher, but whatever. Like you said, Ferguson, those guys, whatever, don't care. Polanco I think Polanco's number 2, like, that you'd like to bring back, and I like the fact that he can play second as well. He's not a great second baseman, but it does give you a little versatility, depending on what they do at second. Let's say they go in with Cole Young and Ryan Bliss as a platoon or something like that, hypothetically, and they struggle. You could put Polanco at second base and DH Dom or do whatever, I don't know who else will be on the team, but stuff like that. So I like that little bit of versatility. I like the switch hitting ability, and he was really good from the right side as well once he got that injury. I forgot what it was, but the injury where he could swing right-handed figured out. So I'd go Naylor 1, Polo 2. I mean, Gino more so than Garver and Ferguson, you know what I mean? But everything else after those two would kind of be, in terms of in-house free agents, would kind of be a whatever to me. So Naylor and Polo are the ones that I'd the most like to have back.
I think I'm going to be more of a definitely Naylor, but I'm also probably going to be more of a probably Suarez, just because of the whole leadership thing. Good vibes only. still play defense, but yeah, it is disheartening that his bat just completely fell apart after he left Arizona. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I really don't want to say T-Mobile Park, but because even when he was on the road, he still wasn't that great either. So I don't think you want to necessarily throw T-Mobile Park on the bus, because I also value him not doing that. Polanco, what I'm worried about is he was on a prove it deal, and he got it, and everything with him almost went perfect. Like, we didn't even expect that. We were expecting maybe like a little bit better, like 20 home runs and like 230 or 40. It would have been like fine. But he went up to like 260s, and he was one of the more clutch players. But the thing is, I just don't know if we would get that back, because usually when there's someone with a 1 year prove it's and they play very well in their contract year, then they kind of start to regress a little bit. And he is up on he's on the low 30s. So I mean, I don't know, but I am a little bit hesitant just because I just don't know if we're going to get that again. And the other reason I want to hold on to Suarez is not only because of all that, but if the Mariners do let him go, who are they going to get? Are they actually would they get Alex Bregman? Of course they're not. I don't see that happening. And can Ben Williamson actually play a full season of Major League Baseball? Like, he showed some potential that he could. Like, he plays great defense, with the exception of a couple errors. And he's not someone that you have to depend on to hit the big home run, but at least just get a base hit, play small ball. So I do like that about Williamson. But I just don't know if that will be enough to completely replace even a struggling Eugenio Suarez. Now, granted, the scary thing is Ben Williamson. I think he had slightly better. I actually think he had slightly better numbers than. I mean, let's look at it. Let's check,
such
right?
different players. It's hard because Gino's home runs probably give him like a offensive boost over what Ben did, and that's kind of why I think they got him. I think Ben was probably better batting average wise, I'm sure, and probably a little bit better defensively. I think Gino still has it defensively. And your point on Polanco, I think, is correct too, right? Like, this was a guy, and it might have been injury related, but 2 years ago he was really bad for the Mariners. So there's no guarantee. That's why Naylor's number one. I think everybody agrees on that, because I just don't see a drop off from Naylor. He's going to be solid. Here's the thing. If you get Naylor done and they can come up with another plan, like, I can stomach losing anybody else, even Polanco. Like, he may just end up out of your price range. So I can figure out paths. Losing Naylor would really sting, because you really don't have a first baseman in the organization unless you're going to try Luke Raley over there again. And even that's going to be a letdown from Naylor. I hate to say you have to sign somebody. Like, you never want to put yourself in that position, but you got to bring Josh Naylor back. I mean, there's just, to me, anything else can be all tied for number two. But go ahead. I know you're pulling up the numbers there.
Oh, the numbers. So what I saw was Ben Williamson was a 253 hitter with a 294 OBP. Slugging percentage 310, but of course Suarez was a 428, 189 BA, and a 255 OBP. But I was also questioning, like, even though Ben Williamson has the more small ball mentality, like, Suarez can hits once in a while. So that's why I'm going to miss him. I just don't think that I'm on the edge for Suarez wanting to come back at least for a year or two, because I just don't. It's really hard to see what the Mariners can really get. Like, we've already seen the trade market. There was not really anything to look at. I remember I wanted Jordan Westburg, just like the Marine Layer podcast guys wanted Jordan Westburg, who was on Baltimore. And then, like, I think I just lost my train of thought. But it's just good. And then you look at the free agency, all it really is which is why I'm just gonna jump to the free agent list, where let's just go right to third base. Like Alex Bregman, Max Muncy, Paul DeJong, Moncada, Kiki Hernandez, Luis Urias. I mean, these are pretty underwhelming guys, and I can tell you that only one of them will effectively replace Suarez, but I just don't see Bregman going there, because also don't forget I think he's a Scott Boras client. So there's that. But now that we're into free agent list, we've got catchers. We've got like Salvador Perez on a club option. I'm pretty sure the team's going to keep him. I don't think that he would have them
And
opt
I don't
out.
think we'll be looking at catchers, so I'm not too worried about that list.
You got me there because Harry Ford could be the backup catcher if he wants
Yeah.
to be. And that's the thing. Like, he can still have, like, if he does well, then I think he can stomach with being a part-time catcher slash
Yeah.
part-time DH and
Kind of the
let Cal
Garver
Raleigh
role.
get some, kind of the Garver role, except younger. If he's
Yeah.
willing to accept that, even though he probably still thinks he's a full-time guy. But the thing is, no matter how much he's developed, it's still hard to see if he's going to be anything of like what we were hoping for, because this season it was clear that he was just extremely raw. And I think at that point, like the way at first I wanted Harry Ford to get a shot, but then the fact that Dan Wilson barely used him is like, then what are we doing just leaving him in the raw? And you could see that he was just purely raw, just not ready for it. At that point, I would have rather had Miles Mastroboni. I would just rather have him there, taking that spot instead for utility purposes. But at the same time, I can see what Dan Wilson was coming from. He just didn't want to. He just wanted to make sure that someone was available. Like, let's say Mitch Garver's a catcher, gets hurt. We don't see we don't have to do the thing where Cal Raleigh goes to catcher, then you lose your DH because the pitcher is the batter. I think that's what Dan Wilson was thinking. And we did see that where Luis Castillo was the batter in 24.
That's right.
Because of that, and watched all three pitches, and that was very disappointing. I think he actually got an ovation for striking out.
Could just
Well,
bunted one over, but
yeah, could have done that. But don't tell that to Shannon Dreher. She was like, no, we cannot risk the health of this team for our pitchers. That's what she said. That is exactly what she stated. First baseman, we got Pete Alonso, Ryan O'Hearn, Carlos Santana, Solano. Yeah.
Solano. I mean, O'Hearn's interesting. Like,
yeah, that's why you gotta get Josh Naylor. You gotta get him because because he does something special that even Pete Alonso can't do, that he can do. Like, Josh Naylor hits at T-Mobile. Pete Alonso, not so much. Second base, where they got
sign Pete Alonso,
no. Gleyber Torres, Jorge Polanco. I think the Mariners are not going to prioritize on second base because I think they're going to bank on Cole Young's breakout. Because I think we've also seen that Leo Rivas, he's more of a utility role, which I actually felt bad for him. I mean, he was put in a role that he probably shouldn't have, but it was more for defensive purposes. But I think it's proven that Rivas is basically maybe the next Dylan Moore on this team for now. I mean, shortstop.
Yeah,
he did. Shortstop, Miguel Rojas, just kidding. Bo Bichette is an option, but are they really going to get him? Probably not. Ha-Sung Kim, I don't know. He's an option, I guess, but it's if he picks up that player option, which I would imagine that he picks up because it's a $15 million option. He's 30 years old.
Unless they trade JP, which maybe
that's the
they
thing,
could.
But that's the thing, I'm done with JP. I hate to say it, but JP has also been shown his volatility, and I think he's getting on to the more wrong side of his career. And then you got to see where – go ahead.
I'll say the tough thing is, though, and I get it. People said the same thing with Randy as well, and that maybe we're going next. And I'm with you. I would love to upgrade at shortstop, but I think sometimes we fall into I'm over JP, I'm over Randy. There's also that's fine. We could trade both those guys, but you've got to have someone behind them. I'm not against trading JP, but then who's your shortstop? Who's opening day shortstop that's going to be better than JP? And I don't think you have anybody that's just, unless you do sign Bo Bichette, which they're not going to do. They're not going to sign Bo Bichette. They're not going to sign those guys. And never know. Maybe they do, but it's the same thing with Randy. And then how much value do those guys have in a trade? I don't think those guys get you that much. Someone would take them. They're not bad baseball players by any means, but I don't think the trade just outweighs their current value to the Mariners. I think you're better off just having those guys on the team, unless you pull off something I like Stephen Kwan. I don't know if he's he's not a free agent. You have to trade for him, but he'd be kind of fun. Then maybe you can do something with Randy. Shortstop, I really don't know what you do there. I think you just roll with JP, and maybe if he struggles and Colt sticks at shortstop, that's your answer. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm with you in spirit on that with JP. Like, I'm kind of done with it too, but I just like, I don't think there's a better option for the Seattle Mariners in 2026. But who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens when they get into the offseason.
Unless Trader Jerry just makes some really weird trade that comes out of left field. But yeah, I mean, I get it too that JP's probably going to be the guy. He's one more year left in his contract, but hopefully, if he doesn't work out, then Cole Emerson could be a plug and play. But can you really bank on that? No, because we thought that was going to be the case for Cole Young, and then that didn't really happen at all.
True, but
And
Young
now
did hold
for
his own for a little bit, and I think Emerson's the much better prospect. So I have more faith in Emerson doing it. So we'll see though. But yeah, no, I get where you're coming from.
left fielders, I mean, if you just look at this list, it's a very underwhelming free
It
agent
is.
list, to be honest with you. Like center fielder, like all these names are like, oh, Cody Bellinger, but let's be realistic. Or oh, Kyle Tucker. No, unfortunately, it may not even happen.
No.
So, I mean, I almost think I feel like I'm even wasting my time with this. I mean, let's look at it just for fun, like designated hitters, Kyle Schwarber. But I mean, come on, are they really gonna do this? Like, and here's all these pitchers, but none of them really speaks out as like the ace, except maybe Dylan Cease. But again, like because of this Mariners ownership, we don't really have the luxury to say, oh, let's go for this guy. Oh, let's go for this guy. Oh, let's go for that guy. Unfortunately, with John Stanton as the owner, we don't really have the luxury to even debate that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm touching a lot of those free agents, even if I had. I mean, I guess if I had Dodger money, sure, but like Bregman is probably the one I would go for, to be honest. But other than that, like, it's just not really a list of guys that I'm interested in giving right now. At least and who knows, maybe I'm just black from Game 7, but I don't know. None of those names stick out to me as someone I'm really going all in for money, except for Naylor, except for Josh Naylor. Naylor's the guy. I'm getting Naylor. And then, maybe there's a starting pitcher in there that's a 1-year deal. I wouldn't mind a little more depth in the rotation. And I think it's trades. I think you're going to see them, get creative with that. It'll be interesting if, with the pitching prospects coming up, if they trade a starter, this may be the year to do it because you've got guys like Chaincha. I always mispronounce that. The switch pitcher, close. Saincha, thank you. Like, he's close. Cade Anderson's, I'm sure, going to be close coming out of college. Ryan Sloan is, I think, further behind those guys, but he's fantastic. Logan Evans maybe takes a step forward. Emerson Hancock's bullpen now, but like, if those guys emerge, I think you can look at trading a starter to get some offensive help. I think that's more the route they're going to go. I could see them trading Randy as much as I like, because I think you can get an outfielder easier than a shortstop, unfortunately, or fortunate, I don't know, however you want to view that. But I could see Randy being traded because, like I said, I think you can go get an outfielder or trade for another outfielder and make that work. And that'll also shed some money for payroll a little bit. Listen, if it happens, and I'm not saying it will, I think it's about a 30% chance it does happen. But if Skubal is on the market, like, the Mariners do have what it takes to get him. And it's only going to be a 1-year deal. Now, they would never sign him long term. It would just be for 2026. But that could help them too, because he may not be as expensive. Now, I don't think he's going to end up getting traded. I think that would be a PR nightmare for the Tigers. But so would losing him and not re-signing him. So, I mean, that would be like my biggest wild card. I know we're getting way ahead here. That's like my wild card. Jay, what's your boldest prediction for the Mariners this offseason? Mine is, if Skubal is actually on the market, I think they get involved.
Skubal is, let me take a look at Skubal. He is a free agent in 2027, so you would think that the Tigers are going to do everything they can to keep him, especially with AJ Hinch as the manager, and that Tigers ownership cannot be any worse than the Mariners ownership. I think
they were cheaper at the deadline than the Mariners. They had a press con. They're like, well, we couldn't do this. So I mean, and it sounds like they're far apart. It could just be agent speak. They might be closer. I'm not saying like he's going to be traded, but in the chance that he is, that would be my bold, like, what's your boldest offseason take? Like, is if he is on the market, truly like they are willing to trade him, I think the Mariners will be involved in that. It makes a ton of sense for them to be involved. They have what the Tigers would want in a trade.
I mean, when you made statements before, especially the Jorge Polanco statement, it did work out when you said the McDonald's thing. Maybe this could be it for Skubal. And I'll
This
give
is
you
like
100%
prime
credit for
rib.
that.
We're talking
Exactly.
school. So I mean,
Well,
like, again, it's just the bold prediction. I'm not a clickbait person. I know we're both not clickbaity people, so I'm not going to make a video and say Skubal to Mariners. Like, I will never do that. But it would be like my crazy thing is that then I get my hopes up and he's just going to be in Detroit next year. So I need to slap myself a little bit. It's not happening. Splash water on me if you've got it.
Well, my bold prediction, in honor of the 30th anniversary of 1995, Mariners will do the same exact thing. They will trade all of their arbitration guys. Naylor's gone, Suarez gone, and the Mariners go into a fringe, maybe 81, 85 win season. And then we will get a sequel of this.
They're just going to
It'll
live
be like
off.
It'll be like 96 all over again, where Julio or Cal Raleigh put some offensive crazy numbers, and they'll go, you got to love these guys. You got to love Cal Raleigh. You got to love Julio. They put up historic numbers. Yeah, I don't know.
They can't. Like, I just can't see them. Man, if they do that, if they actually do that, I mean, I'm assuming but you're talking like trading Gilbert, Kirby, Randy.
Rosarena.
Yeah, JP. Yeah. JP's not JP's an arbitration guy.
No, JP already had an extension, but
that's right.
I'm seeing the arbitration guys, which I'm going to talk, which will be the last part of our show.
Yeah,
that's the part I'm scared of, because when you look at arbitration, when you think of that, you think of contract extension negotiations, or are they going to trade him? Because it reminds me of what happened with Tino Martinez. Like, there was a point where he was going to have to get an extension, but the Mariners opted to just trade him away because they were, quote, trying to save money for the Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., and Randy Johnson. Oops, that did not work.
So are you now, and maybe you're going to get into this, so I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. Are you talking about like they're going to trade them for, because I'm not against, like, in fact, in my little Skubal dream, I'd probably be sending George Kirby to the Tigers in that deal. But like, are you talking about trading them for prospects? Or are you thinking like retooling where it's like they're getting major league guys back and they're just going at it a little differently? Or are you talking more sell? Which route are you going with?
Sell. I'm talking sell. Ooh. Because what if John Stanton is like, well, we had a great season. We made a ton of money. We got some foolish YouTuber who got this shirt and made it all stinky. Like, that's my fear. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that was like the core reason why I was like, do or die playoffs, do or die. It's World Series or bust. There is no, that's why I was like that, because of, I guess, quote, PTSD. And I will not say that to a military member, respects to them, but it was based on what I read from this book talking about the Tino Martinez trade, Jeff Nelson trade, which also gave me PTSD for 2000, 2001, because they kicked our butts, the Yankees. So that's my bold prediction. Your bold prediction is they go all in and get Tarek Skubal. My bold prediction is the Mariners blow it up and execute Order 66.
I will say this, if they do that, and I'm not talking like trade, maybe they trade Kirby for some guys and redo it a little bit. I'm fine with like a little bit of the rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic. But if they truly do it to sell, I'm out. I'm done. Like, I cannot after this year. That's not towards you, by the way. I'm not like hating on your prediction. You're just making your call, for the record, anybody watching this. If they do that and they're just like, no, we're selling it, we're going to blow it up and try to get this back with like, hey, we believe, Emerson, Laz, and listen, those guys are great. Like, they're coming up. We're just going to sell. Trades are fine. I'm all for trades if it's helping the 2026 team and just moving things around a little bit. But if it's a true sell, I will not. Like, I can't. Like, after you just had this season, I'm not saying like you have to like start, oh, you got to go get Bregman and Schwarber and do all this, but you've still got to be the goals to win in 26. They have to. And I know that's what you want them to do. So I know you're just giving your prediction on it for sure. So I am not like hating on that call of yours. It's just, man, I can't if they do. We'll see. I mean, I'll always give any trade a chance. I'll see what it is, but it's not crazy, right? I mean,
if you say you're done, are you saying like no more J Trident podcast done, or are you saying done emotionally?
No, I'll still podcast, but I will be calling. Like it will be, you will see me unleashed. If it's, again, I will always be fair in a trade. We'll assess it. If they trade Logan and it's guys that can help and stuff, we'll look at it. I will always look at it fairly. I never go in and go, well, this is just the stupidest thing ever. We will look at it and see how it helps. But if it's just truly like a fire sale, a Miami Marlins post World Series fire sale, that's when I will be like, no, this is not an acceptable thing to do for this team. Then you might as well trade Cal and Julio. Like, if you're going to just blow it up, I'm going too far, because I guess you could retool. I don't know. I'd have to see. I probably went too far there. I wouldn't be done, but it would be I very much have to see what they're getting in return. I will say that.
I don't think the worst case scenario, they trade Rosarena, Gilbert,
that's fine.
Kirby for a bunch of scraps. But maybe they'll trade like one or two of them, but then the return will be very disappointing. Like, it'll just be more prospecting, which we don't want. Just like Tino and Jeff Nelson, that was for Sterling Hitchcock, who was MLB ready, but Russ Davis was supposed to be that prize. Actually, he was supposed to be the star third baseman of the future, but then he broke his leg in 96. So it looked like he was on his way to like maybe warm into that, but I guess that broken leg just didn't help, which is why his defense was pretty much gone. That's why you saw him get more errors than home runs. But because we're in that 30th anniversary of 95, and we had pretty much a more similar run, if not a better run by one game, it also gives me the visions of like, oh, but this also happened, the post 95, that pretty much many Mariner fans don't really know, because everyone's so fixated on how amazing 95 was, but then the aftermath was just heavily forgotten. So, but now we're going to go into arbitration, and that's going to be the last part of it. I would do prospects, but we have a whole freaking offseason to talk about prospects.
Yeah.
But here's the ones that scare me. We've got Randy Arozarena on arbitration, and you would imagine that he's on $11.3 million contract right now, and you would think that he's probably going to go up quite a bit more. Then you got Logan Gilbert, who had not a 24 caliber season, but at least enough to be competitive. I would think that he's coming into the 9 to 10s. Then you got George Kirby, who's at a 4.3, but you would also think that he's probably going to be a bit more than 4.3. I think if he had like a 24 kind of season, or even a 23 kind of season, which when he was an all-star, then I could see that price doubling. So that's like the question of like, how much is that value going to go up on the arbitration? Mariners are going to have a choice to like tender those guys, or are they just going to, sure, they'll probably tender the guys for sure, just to keep them under contract. But the question is, are they going to explore the trading options? And that's what my bold predictions is, those are the three critical players. Like, everyone's going to talk about, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez, Jorge Polanco. But I'm here talking about, well, there are players that are deep in their arbitration, like Randy Arozarena is going to be a free agent by 27. Logan Gilbert's a free agent by 28, and Kirby's a free agent by 29. And these are not pre-arbitration numbers. We're talking arbitration numbers, where that's like the period where you're like, okay, you might want to see if you can get the extension. But of course, granted this Mariners ownership, they will always have people like us second guessing about what the offseason is going to be, which is why I will be very involved with the offseason. Like, there were people on the live streaming that I did right before this show, at least one or two of them appreciated that. Hey, yeah, you should do this consistently. Like, come on, maybe once a week or every other week, and do a live stream. So in case some the Josh Naylor gets signed to a different team, let's say some other team signs him, because I don't want to speculate who, then I'll just make a show and going, emergency podcast live streaming. Josh Naylor just got signed to this team. Everyone vent away.
No,
So
absolutely.
that's just my fear, yeah.
No, and it's
what's
fair.
your thoughts on
Like,
the arbitration stuff?
Yeah, and like I said, that's like my like, isn't that your theory? Like it's completely fair. And I'm not against the trades. Like if you trade, and I'm just, for anybody watching, please don't be like, oh, I'm just throwing things out there just to get my point across. Like if you trade Randy for some pitching, and then you send pitchers away and you get like a Stephen Kwan or something, and you sign Nail, like I'm okay with trades. And I do think one of those guys will be traded. I think one is extended, one is kept, one is traded. My gut is they probably just keep Randy. And again, I have no inside information, so who knows? I think they extend. My gut would be Logan, and I think Kirby's traded. Kirby has a lot of value because he's under club control for 3 more years. So in a trade, he would get you back something. And again, people can tell me to shut up about Scooble, but like that would be a perfect guy to have in the return because it gets them someone to plug in their rotation. It's under club control. It's still fairly cheap in the grand scheme of things. So I do think you will see an extension with someone. I don't think you can extend Randy. Like, you can't. Like, he's just not, he wasn't good enough. He was fine. He's a good player. Like, I'm not anti-Randy, but man, his last month in postseason really soured me a little bit. You just got to be careful because you want to get the upgrade. This is my take on it. You want the upgrades before you make the move, essentially. And then it's kind of Logan or Kirby. Which one do you want to keep? Which one do you think is the one you want to move on from? Kirby's always struck me as someone that I don't see signing an extension. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Logan strikes me as more likely, which probably means they're going to extend Randy, trade Logan, and keep Kirby. I'll probably be dead wrong on all 3 of these. It'll be reversed. But those are probably the 3 most interesting to like look at in terms of trades. So I'm with you on that. I think those are the 3 names that are going to be the most like what happens with them this offseason. Logan was disappointing to me. We talked about game 7. One of my biggest takeaways in this series, Logan wasn't good enough. He needed to be better in game 6. That was a huge game for the guy that's supposed to be the ace of your staff. I know Toronto's a tough matchup, not taking away from what they did, but Logan Gilbert had to be better. That was, to me, the most disappointing. Kirby, for the most part, stepped up in the playoffs. He had 1 dud in game 3 against Toronto. So does that change anybody's opinion on it? I don't know. Logan, great strikeout rate, low walk rate, but also just has some trouble getting deep into games. And I'm going off tangent a little bit to what your question was, but it's interesting. Those are definitely 3 names to keep an eye on. I think they'd probably like to trade Randy. To go for it a little bit in 26. And I don't think you're going to get anything back for Randy that's going to be that amazing. I think it'd be a very weak return. I don't think he has as much value on the market as some people may think. Logan and Kirby you could get a haul for Logan and Kirby. Like, let's be honest, like they would get you a very nice package. It's just like, would it be a package to win now, or is it a package that's going to help you in 2029, which, hey, I may come back here in 5 years and go, wow, that's really nice. Now we're close to a World Series, but as I get older, I don't want to wait 5 years either. So we'll see. It's definitely 3 intriguing names to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if others will follow suit that those are going, or if they already said it by now. But I think if I'm going to go on a prediction before we close this show, I think Randy gets traded because I think maybe they'll ride Canzone and Robles in that outfield core, and just to eat time, maybe they'll sign some like lame mid-level player. And
we know
maybe
those guys well.
And I think they're going to try to see if Laz Montez can get an opportunity, but I do think it is quite a stretch to bring him up right now because I've seen him play in Everett. The guy whacks it. He is also a big case rate guy. Like looking at his numbers, he had strikeout issues. So I would think that he's going to do probably the same thing that Randy Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez do. So that's going to be like that's going to be a whole outfielder's worth of just hacking and swinging at things. So I think that's kind of what their plan is. And also Arozarena, he's also a Scott Boras client. So I think after he's gone, he's bolting. And Scott Boras is going to also try to see if he can get some sucker to overpay for Randy Arozarena. Then I think Logan is. I think they're just going to keep Logan because I think he'd be the more likely guy to get the extension. He seems to be more of that team player kind of vibe. George Kirby is a very fiery guy. He's very emotional guy. Like he's the same guy who spiked his glove during a game against Baltimore when there was like that. I think it was like that 1-0 game or a tie game, and he was just frustrated. And then don't forget that time where he was like, "Well, I wish I didn't get that 7th inning, to be honest with you," when he just went on the camera and do that. And he got ripped up by at least a couple pitching legends like Roger Clemens. And also, given the fact that he has even more years of club control, I think he's the one to get traded. So I think they trade Arozarena, trade Kirby, and somehow keep Gilbert. I think that's my prediction. And it's a pretty extreme one, too. But I guess we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Actually, it's as much as you were like, they're going to sell, and I'm like, no, we actually kind of came out on the same page a little bit on those 3 guys. I think the only difference is I was more sending them in trades that would help you win now, and you're more talking about trades down the road. But I think, ironically, we actually kind of came to the same conclusions. I do think they'll try to trade Randy, actually. I just think it may come back to like, what's more valuable, what we're getting or him just being on the team. So we're actually, funny enough, like on the same page for the most part. It's just different, same path, but hopefully different outcomes potentially is where we're going. But kind of interesting how that works out.
Pretty much. We'll just have to see, especially with Randy Arozarena, because I mean he did give us reasons to be like, man, if we lost him, we probably won't lose too much sleep over it. He was a fun hitter to watch, but man, just the inconsistencies and just on a petty note, the guy was just a flashy guy. He was like, when he hits a home run, he like does that basketball hoopsie celebration, and he spiced up the Trident like way too much. And then he just didn't work out as a leadoff hitter either. I know we could have used that for sure. But yeah, it's going to be a long off season. It could either be very exciting if they double down, or it could be exactly what I'm thinking, post 95, which will lead up to a sequel of this videotape and a sequel of this book. Maybe he'll start writing stuff on that. He better get busy on that. But that's going to do it. J Trident Podcast, as usual, thank you for being on this show. I'm pretty sure we'll be busy together in the off season. And once again, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Do the same thing for J Trident Podcast. And for everyone, go Mariners. Since 2022, I have been building the Rooftop Sports YouTube channel, and I want to thank all of you for your support and engagement. Without all of you, there is no Rooftop Sports. Now, if you would like to take your support to the next level, join my exclusive YouTube membership program for just $5 a month. Get first access to new videos, ad-free content, and exclusive insights from my fantasy sports, as I do play many fantasy sports leagues. Plus, follow along with my softball seasons like never before. You also get access to my own emojis to use to comment on my videos and my live streaming shows. For just $5 per month, become a bigger part of my community and get ready for unparalleled sports experience. Let's do this.